I totally lose control. I like it.
So, with the new release of She-Hulk, I figured let's go ahead and take a look back at what you could say started it all. And that is 2003's Ang Lee's Hulk. 2003. Can you believe that? Now, this means that next year, this movie's going to be 20 years old. That happens to all the time. I literally just reviewed Spider-Man 2002 not that long ago, and that was 20 years. Like, oh god. There's actually been quite a big consensus that this movie is bad by a lot of people, and there's also been a resurgence recently that a lot of people are like, it's enjoyable. So is Hulk 2003 the stinker that everyone says it is? Well, let's go ahead and discuss it. Now, if you guys do not know, there was a lot of build up to this movie. Now, before we had the series with Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk and Bill Bixby as Bruce Banner, or David Banner as they called him in the series. And basically, at that point, it was just basically Lou Ferrigno painted in green paint as the Hulk alter ego, right? And, you know, very fun series.
Porter. Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
That dwells within him.
Nothing incredible, Incredible Hulk, but it was enjoyable as a watch. And there were a couple of standout episodes that were actually very, very enjoyable, actually. Come 2001, when they start production, and they basically had the technology at the point where they said, hey, we can actually bring the Hulk from the comics to life using CGI animation, CG animation, to make him look as close to reality as possible with the Hulk, right? So they hired the director Ang Lee to make this project come to life after the success of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which is a good movie. I'd like to recommend that. But I don't think that Ang Lee was necessarily the right choice for directing this movie, and a lot of people would agree on that. Number one, we can all agree that you don't have to get this artsy with it. Now, I'm a big Hulk fan. I mean, I'm obviously wearing a shirt and all, but as my rankings go, Batman, Spider-Man, the Hulk. I love Hulk. So, I can say this, and I'm not going to be biased towards anything. I'm just giving you what my opinions are. The Hulk is a psychological character. That's undeniable. I mean, the whole Jekyll and Hyde comparison, and that there's always a constant fight for dominance over the body between both of these beings within the body. Like, Bruce and the Hulk are their own separate thing. Fighting for dominance over the body. Like, it's an undeniable thing. And if you include David Banner, or Bruce Banner's dad, I should say, then there's a psychological component to there as well, right? So they went that route in this movie with the whole David Banner, which is funny that they paid homage to the David Banner name from the TV show as the dad in this movie. And they went that route as the abusive dad, who basically Bruce witnessed kill his mother when he was younger, and basically deeply traumatized him to a point where he repressed the memory of what happened in that incident. So as you go throughout the film, they uncover what happened in that past, and when it finally hits, then it really gets to him at a certain point in the story. So Ang Lee was trying to direct something that felt much more psychological and something a little bit more artsy, which there's not a problem with that. Like, you can do that. But he sucks out every bit of fun in this movie every personality, and you just get these really stale characters that you cannot really relate to. I want to love Bruce Banner. He's actually written pretty well in this movie. They don't really give Eric Bana much to work off of. He's very dry. So is everybody else in this movie, but Nick Nolte and Sam Elliott. Those two are not dry in the movie. You can tell they're both having a blast. But the other actors and actresses in this movie, they don't have much to work off of, so they're very, very dry. Just look at this scene.
I don't understand how this is possible.
And while I really do appreciate that they're trying to tell something that's more than the run-of-the-mill superhero movie, and that they're trying to talk about the deep, like, connections of loss and feelings of loss, feeling of anger of the past and repressed memories, and, you know, just a lot of the movie is meant to be emotions, but it's weird because a lot of the characters are not emotional in the movie, and when they are emotional, it's really over the top. As you guys, if you've seen the movie, you guys already know that Bruce's father experimented on himself from a young age, where basically he passed on his genetics to his son Bruce when his wife was pregnant, so it's hereditary. And basically what happened was the gamma explosion that happens basically activated those cells to make him turn into the Hulk later on in the movie, which you gotta wait 40 minutes to see the Hulk in the movie, which I'm like, oh my god, so you have to sit through these boring characters to get to the Hulk? Which in all levels of seriousness, I mean, this is kind of an unpopular opinion. I actually think the movie does pick up a little bit after Bruce turns into the Hulk. I mean, it gets really slow still, and Ang Lee just tries super hard to be super artsy with this film. But it does start to pick up a bit more. But that's also an idea I loved about this depiction of the Hulk, as well as the fact that this Hulk, actually, there was a really cool explanation for why he becomes Hulk, right? Like the genetics in him and the experiments that his dad did messed up his cells, and what the gamma explosion did was just activated those cells and actually released the real him, which is the Hulk. Really cool idea. Really like that idea. We're going to talk about the Hulk in a second, but the whole thing with his dad and everything and trying to get together with Bruce, those moments are actually really good too. I really do like Nick Nolte's performance in this movie. Actually, if I want to be honest, he outshines everybody in this movie. He's clearly having a blast in this movie, and he also feels like he could belong in another movie outside of this. And Eric Bana, I do like the way he portrays his transformations into the Hulk. They look very painful, which you would imagine that happening. I mean, especially when your whole body's stretching out like that and your bones are like basically expanding. It would be pretty painful, right? But does the dude look like he have to fart all the time and poop? I mean, I'm just asking. I'm not trying to be funny. If you guys do know that the Hulk action in this movie is actually pretty okay for the most part. I mean, the tank battle, really good, really fun. The dogfight, really like that as well. I also really do like the first transformation that they have with Bruce turning into the Hulk in the office and tearing up the office. To me, that was really well done, especially with the Danny Elfman's beautiful score, which let's talk about Danny Elfman for a second. Danny Elfman gave his A game in this movie. I think this score is fantastic. It works well for a lot of those scenes, right? And sometimes it escalates not so epic scenes into epic scenes. And yes, the Hulk dog fight, like, yes, the Hulk dog's ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Like, this is the Hulk movie, and we get to see mutant dogs fight the Hulk. Like, come on now. We can't get anybody else. But then again, still actually a very entertaining battle. I know a lot of this seems like I'm rambling a lot. That's because I'm just going all over the place. This is more just like a retrospective review, much like I did for Spider-Man 2002. Just bringing up points that I think are very interesting or points that I don't think work. And I'm also bringing up things that I may enjoy as well. Also, one thing that Ang Lee wanted to do was make this movie feel like a comic book with its editing, where they had all these panels and stuff like that. It does give a very unique look to the movie, and it's a pretty cool idea, right? But they overdo it to the point where it does become utterly ridiculous. Where like when they got into the desert, that's when I realized, okay, I think I've had enough of this. I'm starting to get motion sick. Also, I'm not sure how I also felt about the Hulk's abilities in this movie. It was really cool to see what they did with the Hulk, with bringing him to life and everything like that. But I'm not entirely sure how I feel about how big he was, because he was like 15 feet in this movie, whereas the Hulk is normally like 8 foot. "10 at most," and that's at most. Like, and those are like rare comic exceptions. Like, but he's mostly generally above 8 foot, and that's about it. Like nothing crazy amounts like 15. So he looks absolutely gigantic. I know Ang Lee took some inspiration from King Kong in this movie, but come on, man. Do you have to make the Hulk like 15 foot? You know, 15-foot Shrek walking around this entire movie, or parts of the movie. One thing I always loved about the Hulk is those transformation sequences, because in the original series it was cool with the wide eyes and he would turn into the Hulk. It felt kind of terrifying. It felt kind of thrilling. One thing I do like about this movie is that the first transformation, I did get that sense. Even though they didn't do the eye thing, which I think with Hulk transformations, that's my favorite thing, is with the eyes. That really adds to the effect. But I accepted what they did with this because it felt very tense. It felt very dramatic. And I also thought that really what they're trying to sell you on is the fact that this is a very intense transformation for him. Like, this dude is hurting when he transforms. Like, his whole body's expanding. His bone structure is expanding. Yeah, you best believe this is going to be the worst pain that he's ever experienced in his whole life. They played it well. I really do like the transformation sequence. But I think that they did it a little bit better. Now, I do like the transformation sequences in this movie really well. I do like that. But I think it was a little bit better in The Incredible Hulk, where they did do the eye thing. Once they did the eye thing, I realized, okay, some stuff's about to go down, right? Also, a very interesting choice to have Bruce's father, Nick Nolte's character, be the Absorbing Man. A very interesting choice, which did work for the most part, but at the same time, it led to a very unsatisfying finale with the Absorbing Man. I really do like the part where he strikes Bruce up in the clouds and they look like these paintings going through the sky. That was cool. There was also this part that I feel like it should have been memed by now, but because I have a very fond memory of me and my dad doing this when I was growing up, where Bruce would scream to him, you know, because he was absorbing Bruce's energy. He would be like, "Take it all!
Take it! Take it all!"
You know, like I remember just doing that back and forth with my dad all the time. So very fond memory of that part, which actually led to a very interesting ending of the movie as well, with Bruce saying the classic line, "You will like me when I'm angry," where basically the entire movie he was basically fighting the Hulk, but then he learned to accept the beast at the end. Which, again, never felt earned because we don't really care that much about these characters, you know? And the biggest question is the CGI bad like everybody says? Everybody, like, poops on the CGI all the time. Like, everybody says everything else, but the CGI generally is hated on. The CGI, I'm going to keep it real with you guys, especially as someone who's studied a lot of these things in terms of like looking at animation and stuff like that, and just looking at all these different videos and reading facts about animation processes and muscle definitions and all that. The animation work is not bad in this movie at all. It's really not. Like, the muscle definition of the Hulk and everything looks fantastic. And the best example I could show you guys is when the Hulk first transforms in the dark. And you notice when he transforms, you notice his clothes expanding. You can see the bones underneath his skin sliding around and expanding along with his muscles expanding. That is crazy detail work, and it actually looks amazing. Now, the reason why I pointed that out as being the best instance of it right there is also because it's in the dark. And the problem with the CGI in this movie is the fact that the Hulk is too bright. He is very, very bright green, and they weren't at the point where they could make something that bright green look entirely real. So because he was so bright green, the CGI just did not work with it, so he did look a little bit Shrekish. By all means, this is not bad animation work. It's just that the problem is with the color of the Hulk. If they would have fixed that, it would have actually looked really, really realistic. Who would have guessed that a simple fix would have fixed a lot of things? Oh, and also changing the sentimental tone. All in all, is Hulk 2003 really the stinker that everybody says it is? I know this was all over the place, but the point I'm trying to make is that not everything in this movie is bad. The dramatic moments do work very well in small instances. Eric Bana plays a pretty okay Bruce Banner. He's not given a lot to do. He's not given enough character or a lot of, like, really anything. But he plays a lot of dramatic moments well. Nick Nolte and Sam Elliott were the best parts of the movie. They brought their A game in this. Some of the action scenes were actually very thrilling. They're just so far in between that the fact that it just feels kind of like you're being teased the entire time. And the Hulk was a very interesting experience with him, that creature and specifically, but a lot of it worked, but a lot of it did not work. And I just find it funny that with all the seriousness in this movie, they throw a lot of nutshot jokes in this movie. But that's also the point why I think a lot of confusion is with this movie, is the fact that it's clearly trying to be a comic book with its, you know, over the topness and its comic book panelness, but at the same time it's trying to be like the serious soap opera drama. So it feels really unbalanced, like really unbalanced, and that's the problem with this movie. I wouldn't say by all means that it's a bad movie. I mean, it's not great or shoot, even really good. But if you want to watch something that's actually different than a lot of the MCU, and maybe something that could be a little bit fun to watch, or at least cool to look back at, Ang Lee's Hulk actually does work in some instances. And there are some moments I go back to this day, like that transformation sequence. Really like that. I love a couple of other aspects, like the dogfight. I also like a couple of the dramatic moments here and there. Really good. So there are highlights in this movie. It's just not very well balanced, and they could have done a better job with that. Hiring somebody who does artful filmmaking may not be the best choice for every character, right? I do believe that you can write a good psychological Hulk movie with the right director. One compliment I can give to the Hulk in this movie is the fact that he's the Hulk. And he's a lot better than what we're getting with the Hulk in recent times.
Being a Hulk asks for balance.
I would much rather take this Hulk over the current iteration of Mark Ruffalo. Only time will tell with what they do with the Hulk going forward. Universal has the rights. Will we ever get another solo Hulk movie again? Who knows? But right now, I just want to say, just look at the ones that we have now and maybe look at it with a different lens. Comment down below what you guys thought of Hulk 2003. What are some moments that stand out to you in this movie? And let me know what you guys thought of this style of review. And as always, if you guys liked the video, make sure to subscribe today to join the Azellization.